calling, when we used to call the radio station to win a contest or something, and it was always busy. It's like busy, you hang up, you call again, it's busy. That's how our minds are so much of the time.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't allow, if we don't specifically say, okay, it's downtime, you know,
Yeah,
turn off the TV.
right.
A- Actually, when I'm teaching animal communication, one of the things I say is when you're just sitting on the couch doing nothing and you have a bright idea, it's like, hey, I'm going to take the dog for a walk. It's probably the dog's idea. It's just that you're finally
Mm,
let your mind rest a little bit,
mm-hmm.
that it's probably not even your idea.
Right.
So, yeah, get quiet. It's absolutely something I teach.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever and wherever you are watching or listening. This is the Holistic Monitor, and I'm your host, Nick Sconia. The Holistic Monitor is a wellness podcast featuring life energy research, health and wellness transformation, self-improvement and empowerment, philosophy, spirituality, and now guest interviews as well. We look forward to your comments on our YouTube channel at Holistic Monitor, and you can also listen on the go with us at Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and more. And with that, let's get today's show started. And welcome to the Holistic Monitor Podcast. I'm your host, Nick Sconia. Our guest today is Karen Cleveland, a mindset and connection coach who helps her clients find contentment and happiness by tapping into the power of spiritual connection. Karen also hosts the Connectedness Podcast, where she explores the ways in which coincidences, synchronicities, and everyday moments are all connected. Through her work, Karen helps people cultivate a deeper sense of purpose and meaning in their life. We're excited to have her on the show today to share her insights and expertise with us. So please welcome Karen Cleveland. All right, Karen Cleveland, you are a mindset and connection coach who helps clients achieve a happier and more content life through the power of spiritual connection.
Absolutely.
That
I
sounds right.
am. Yeah.
Fantastic. So how did you get started in this work?
Oh, boy. Well, there's the long story and then there's the extra long story.
Ah,
So, um, you know, I, I think it started, let's just say it started about 20 years ago. I grew up Catholic and just a normal upbringing, but at some point I started kind of thinking there's something more going on and I don't know what it is, and I started reading books and taking workshops and that kind of thing, exploring what other ideas were out there. And I think it was when so the other thing I also am or have been primarily is an animal communicator.
hmm.
And at some point I started taking animal communication classes because I thought, why does my daughter not know what the dog wants? And no one else in the house knows what the dog and cat wants, but I do.
Yeah.
Why do I feel like I know things and other people don't know these things? So
Hmm.
I started taking classes and started actually connecting with animals, which I thought was a little absurd and amazing and wonderful.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, if I can actually know what an animal wants, and it would be confirmed by, the person, the information I got.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, well, what else is possible? It kind of not ruined, it kind of just made me wonder what kind of a crazy world we lived in.
Hmm.
So, I kept taking classes. I had also started at this point taking classes at my local Center for Spiritual Living, where I'm actually a minister right now as well.
Okay.
And it's a lot of spiritual classes, a lot of consciousness and connection classes. And I started to realize that I did have access to information that I didn't know how I got it.
Hmm.
Uh, um, through processes like meditation or through different just intentional focus processes with, other other life, but
Right.
even trees and mountains and crazy stuff.
Right. Right.
So so when I started to realize that there was these connections and there was information available and I didn't know where it was coming from, and I started following this information, then the good things started happening.
Hmm. Interesting. How about that? And that's part of
Yeah,
what you do too, the interconnectedness, right?
exactly.
Helping people get
Yeah,
back on their path, so to speak.
absolutely, yeah,
So
yeah.
now you were in, so you consider yourself Catholic.
I
Initially, that was it. And
yeah,
then you started having a sense that you had an inner knowing
yes,
that was going on. That was, you weren't seeing other people have the same kind of empathy of sorts or registering this impressions. Is that right?
uh, well, that's true, but I also didn't talk about it with a lot of people. I
Right.
the h how I grew up, I just kind of assumed everyone knew what I knew, and I still do
Yeah.
to some
Yeah.
degree. I'm still a little bit astonished when someone doesn't know something that I think everyone knows,
Right.
and I think
Yeah.
that's true for all of us, though. What's easy for us, we think is easy for everyone.
Right. Yeah. I hear that a lot. That there's an assumption that
Mhm.
what somebody has going on in their head is basically standard. Like this
Yeah,
is something that everybody is experiencing, and only to find out that not everybody is on that same ball field. They're not all playing the same game, as it were.
right.
Um, and then it's for you to find and acclimate to that understanding that you have an extra ability. That's very interesting. So you went the route initially for animal communication, animal impression.
Mhm.
Um, was there a specific thing that drew you to that specific field?
Um, I loved animals,
Yeah.
and I was actually I worked from home, this was many years ago, and I was listening to a pet psychic on the radio,
Hmm.
and she would tell the caller something on air, give them some advice,
Right.
and I would yell at her. I'd say, "That's not right. That's not right." And then I was like, "Who am I to say? I'm not a pet psychic. I don't know
Right.
what's right."
Wow. That's
Yeah.
great. You're critiquing the pet psychic.
Yeah,
Like, no,
exactly.
that's not their saying. That's fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that so I find that with animals there is a real easy way to connect with them. To kind of read what they're going through or what they're experiencing, what they're trying to communicate. It's a good gateway, I think, to for a lot of people. The
I
animal kingdom.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. It is a good
Yeah.
gateway because we're animals,
Right.
and so it is pretty easy for us to I mean, easy is, relatively speaking,
Right.
once you have some tips, some connection techniques to use, but, um, we actually, if we didn't use language, if we didn't have, our is it the prefrontal
So,
cortex or,
yeah.
some of these brain parts that we have, we would be communicating just like they are,
Right.
and so but we use language. The
Yeah.
dogs don't, tell each other, "Let's meet at Starbucks tomorrow." So,
Right. And we can almost say that our language almost gets in the way of our extrasensory ability. Clouds
absolutely.
the mind with, programs and ideas that um, they're not hindered with.
Absolutely.
Animals aren't hindered with as much.
Yeah,
We have to get through the clutter that we create for ourselves.
absolutely, and the
So,
misunderstandings because we don't understand words the same way,
right.
the
Yeah.
way I use something is might be different than you and in other countries, so it does cause
Right.
some problems.
The Tower of Babel, the
Mhm.
lack of understanding from one to the other,
Right,
to not be
right.
able to do that reading, that psychic reading between each other, uh, to have the problem of communication
Yeah,
instead of the blessing of it. Very
exactly.
interesting. Okay, and then so you started with that, and then with the classes,
Yes.
and then you developed a little bit more of what will become your practice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I so I had a really kind of downtime in my life at one point. I was taking some of these classes. I was also doing the animal communication, but I really hit a low. I was living payday loan to payday loan, and, that's a it's a horrible
Yeah.
place to be. But
Hmm.
I said to myself, "You know what? I gotta get out of this." And so I started actually applying as many things as I could think of. And what really hit me is that I don't know if I'd call it meditation, but I would sit quietly in the morning and information would come to me. And if I acted on it, then good things would happen.
Hmm.
So, I definitely started to believe that I was, able to receive some divine guidance that was leading me somewhere, somewhere good. And since that whole experience, life has been so much easier because now I feel like I'm in that flow of
Mm.
being in connection and just I don't necessarily have to ask the questions anymore. I think that's the big thing is
Mm.
there's a point where you have to ask for advice because there's a big decision and you don't know, I don't know if I go left or right. I just don't know.
Right.
But at this point, I feel like I'm usually just I intuitively know which way to go.
Hmm. It's become more integral to how you interpret
Yeah,
the day to day. Yep. Okay. So there's less of a block basically for you. I
right.
used to call it like I used to say I have straw. I have a straw that goes to my higher self, and I like to keep it nice and clear, nice and
Yeah,
clean, so that the
yeah,
messages come through real smooth,
yeah,
without obstruction,
yeah,
without
that's
my own
strong.
obstruction.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's
Keep it
cool.
clear.
Yeah. So in doing that, then your intuition becomes more at home, kind of where it belongs, right? Under your
Right.
control and kind of just a natural ability versus something that's quote unquote special.
I believe so. Yeah, I
Yeah.
believe everyone's capable. It's a natural
Yeah.
once we
Yeah.
start once we just start doing it. I still have to work at it. I mean,
Right. It's a working thing. Yeah.
it is.
Every day's a new day.
Exactly.
Now, and that's a funny thing because in the beginning, we find ourselves with some sort of extrasensory ability or some kind of something going on that's well, nobody else seems to be doing it, and we have the assumption that maybe they can't or they just don't or won't. But now you found yourself an ability that also allows you to turn that over or hand that over to others to utilize so that they can also find their own path, their own interconnectedness. Does that sound right? That's kind of
I think so.
yeah.
If I understand and I wanna add or say that I think if someone else can know something that is true for you, I've heard people say, "Borrow my faith until you have
Mm,
it for yourself." So,
mm-hmm.
if I know it's possible for you, then perhaps you can come around a little quicker than not having, someone
Right.
help you with it.
Right. The assist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that I mean, but again, like we get into that mindset that not everybody can do it. And
Oh,
I
okay.
find myself saying that too. Like, well, not
Yeah,
everybody can do it, but actually, everybody can do it. But a lot of people aren't called to do it or won't. Some people just won't do
exactly.
it. It's not that they can't. And I
Yeah,
find
they
myself
just
saying that they can't do it, but actually they can. It's just that they won't or they don't know how.
right. I mean, maybe they don't want to. Not everyone wants to talk to animals, and so they
Right.
never will,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
Um,
It scares people, and it's
yeah,
understandable. You
yeah.
know, it may have. I don't know if you had any kind of fear in the beginning, but
Yeah,
for a lot of people, it's not. That's not a place they want to go. It's too
yeah.
much.
Oh, I
Um,
had some breakdowns.
yeah.
Absolutely, because it's a complete shift in thought
Right.
and belief. So,
Yeah. Yeah. It's retooling the whole spiritual toolkit. It's like
mhm.
okay, things are all one. Things are all complete, and there
Right,
is an interconnectedness to all these things: the trees, the animals, the
right,
people.
right.
It's a lot of it goes into in the infinite, and for me, that's the realm where our brain, our mind, just doesn't can't compute like a calculator. It's just like how many zeros, it just keeps going.
Yeah,
Once it starts
absolutely.
touching that, the brain kind of loses its function for how it can impress on that. Um,
Yeah, and, I think like we were saying, it's every day's a new day. There are some days and I do still talk to animals. There are some days that I would say in the middle of a conversation with a dog, "I can't believe I'm doing this."
right,
This science fiction, you
right,
know?
yeah, right, and that. So is it? So you still do pet communication?
Well, I
Is
mean, a
that?
little bit. I do it pretty much through referral. I
Yeah,
really like helping people, and I mean, animals are my heart.
yeah,
So I love helping people with their animals, but I also know how horrible it is to struggle, and
right,
so I really like to help people with that as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you work with clients? You do it online, obviously, right? You do in-person work as well?
I at the moment, so, with everything has changed in the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I haven't started doing in-person work. I probably will at some point. I actually like to do
Mm,
group work, group programs. I do teach a lot of classes because I love the energy of a group, and I love
mm-hmm.
the energy and the questions and we're all teachers in a group, really.
Right,
I'm just
right.
facilitating.
Yeah.
But, so I do teach I probably do more group and classes than I do individuals. I will absolutely do individual sessions, and I do have a individual coaching program,
Hmm.
um, but I tend to like the group settings more.
Yeah. Better interaction with people. And
Mhm.
like you said, everybody's a teacher,
Yeah,
whether they realize it or not.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's
and those
cool.
are all online right now.
Okay.
Um, I love doing in-person classes, though. I actually did just schedule I don't know exactly what kind of workshop it is. I'm a guest speaker at a church coming up, at
Hmm.
a couple cities away, and so I'm doing an afternoon workshop, and it'll be the first one I've done
Hmm.
in 3 plus years, so I am looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's great. And
Yeah.
what area are you coming from? What city are you from?
I'm north of Seattle, Washington,
Oh, okay.
Snohomish. Yeah.
Snohomish. Okay. Okay. I spent a part of a summer in Bellingham,
Okay.
and then I've been to Seattle a few times
Yeah,
in traveling.
Bellingham's nice.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, beautiful.
and what
Mount Baker,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
The ocean and the mountains, that's why I'm here.
yeah. It's amazing. You know, the further
Yeah,
north you go, it's the coastline is just it's a wild experience that I feel like people on the East Coast really just don't get the West Coast. They need to visit. You know,
it's true.
it's
Yeah, it's
just a
true.
magical land. Just an energy that's especially in the Northwest. That's just you have to go there and experience. You know,
Right.
mixing of cultures and the landscape itself, this dramatic snow peaks, uh, Mount Rainier. It's just
Yeah.
a wild.
The mountains are incredible. I remember being in was I in Louisiana or no, I don't know. Someone told me, they were talking about their mountains, and I'm like, "Those hills?
Yeah, right.
Those little mounds?
Yeah.
Okay."
Could be a lot of places in the East Coast. And we have
Yeah,
the Appalachian,
right.
and they can be pretty wild, but they're really old mountains. So they're rounded, they're weathered, they're
Yeah,
not really dramatic.
yeah.
For unless you're in like a canyon or something like that. But you hit the Rockies, and
Oh, I know, they're
just
gorgeous.
amazing cascades.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're
Uh,
beautiful.
um, and as far as for outcomes for clients, Have you had pretty good outcomes?
Um, they think so. I
Yeah.
mean, and I think so too. So it's not always a huge life transformation, but sometimes it's just something that from the outside might seem small,
Mm-hmm.
but it helps a person's confidence and it helps them understand that if I can achieve this small goal, if I can understand some of these practices enough that I can get small goals, it's kinda like animal communication. It's like the gateway. It's like, well, then what
Mm-hmm.
else is possible?
Right. Right.
And I love to work so the connectedness, I think, is the root of everything, but I like to engage body, mind, and soul. So a lot of mindset and energy and, being aligned with
Mm-hmm.
soul or spirit is, critical for the goal setting and for whatever you're going towards, whether it's life or career or, health, relationship, whatever it is.
Right. Right. What would
Yeah.
be a standard or a normal experience for one of the clients that somebody you're working with to experience? What way would you guide them towards finding the interconnectedness?
Great question. I like to start with asking them what they want. So, do you know what you want? And we have to do some work with what they want because a lot of it is what mom wants, what my husband wants, what my spouse wants. It's not
Mm-hmm.
always what I want. But so, asking what they want because sometimes that's the number one problem when we get down into their actual soul's dream, then it's an easier process. But as far as the interconnectedness and establishing that, it might so it depends on the person. It might be flat out meditation, it might be some guided visualizations, it might be some, um, journaling, some creative process, because there's a lot of ways that we can draw the connection out. It's not gonna be the same for everyone, and if someone is really creative, so, like, if I have an artist come to me, so, this happens a lot, either writers or artists, painters come, and I ask them to switch it up. I say, "Find a different outlet because you're used to doing this, so you need to, try something new so you can get out of your own head while you're doing it to allow the wisdom, to allow the divine wisdom to come in."
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's not an overnight process. It could be,
Right.
but I like to work at least for a month with a person, sometimes 3 months, sometimes 6 months. My classes are typically, uh, 8 weeks, 2 months,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of like to kick them off and get them started and see some results. There's always some results, but to at least get them started into, how they need to move forward, what their next steps are.
Right.
And so did I answer the question?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I I think it's important to just to reiterate, if you're a painter, do something else
Right.
to tap into some of that divine wisdom.
Yeah. It'd be kind of like work a shift of routine into their world, basically.
Yes.
Whatever your
Well,
routine
yeah.
is, even if it's a spiritual routine, shift it, shift the focus, shift the perception, and
Yes.
look for the connection through that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
definitely dedication,
yeah,
commitment.
okay. And meditation could feature in that, depending on each person's a different
Right,
situation. But
right.
yeah, now you have a podcast that you do as well,
I do.
the
I have
Connectedness
the
podcast.
Connectedness podcast, and I only started it recently. I've thought
Okay.
about it for years.
Hmm.
I actually did it as part of or I didn't do it, but I finally started it and named it, as part of a process of just establishing my online business and how I want to, present myself to people, I did the Clifton Strengths.
Mm-hmm.
And my number one strength was connectedness. And I knew in my podcast I wanted to talk about connection. When I look back at all the classes I've ever taught and all the things that I've named, I have a ministry that I named several years ago named One Love Animal Connection.
Mm.
Everything had connection in it. And then when
Yeah.
the connectedness came up as my number one strength, it's like, oh, that's the name of my podcast. It's kind of a weird name. Not everyone knows what that is, but
Right.
I really enjoy it, and did the first season primarily by myself. I had 3 guests the first season, and now I'm what I am calling infinite season because I'm not gonna actually do it by seasons anymore,
Yeah.
but I have a
Yeah.
lot more guests,
That's
and
great.
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love the name. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks.
And I did the same. I was like, oh, season one will be this. And then I
Yeah,
was like, no, we're not doing that. There's no
right.
way I can maintain that.
Yeah, the
It's already
forever
hard enough.
season.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm,
It just keeps going. We'll just number them.
exactly, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And it is a really great way, through podcasting to be able to connect with people and also to do the outreach to, get the message, your own message out there as well
right.
and keep you in front of people. I think that's really important. Um,
Yeah,
so people can find you and find your service and find what you're doing and find a way to connect and explore, you know, and that's
absolutely.
connectedness kind of follows along all of those lines. It's perfect, great name. Yeah,
Yeah, it does.
yeah,
It does,
and
and yeah, connecting with all the people is so much fun.
yeah, yeah, and then you get to learn from them too, because everybody's a teacher. Yeah, that's the best part,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
where do you see your business going in the future? What are you looking to do as far as development, growth, that sort of thing?
Right now, I'm actually focusing on speaking and writing.
Hmm.
I have been, and I haven't revealed this to, many people because I sound a little crazy sometimes, but I've been receiving guidance for a long time, several years, to just start talking.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't talk as a kid. I was the baby. No one listened to me. Uh, People answered for me. So it's taken a long time for me to actually start talking and start putting myself out there, and to share my voice. So right now, I my focus is on speaking and podcasts,
Mm-hmm.
just to see where it goes.
Right. I
I
see
think
what doors open up.
exactly. I
Mm-hmm.
think if I'm doing something I love, which I'm loving it, opportunities will present themselves. And one of the reasons I never have before is because I kept telling myself, "But I can't make money doing that. How would I ever
Right.
make money doing that?"
Right.
And just because I don't know, I have to take my own lessons.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I don't know where it goes doesn't mean I shouldn't be doing it. So
Right. It's kind of following your own. Following your own calling.
it is.
It's
Yeah,
part of your calling. Yeah.
it is.
Yeah. That's I feel that. I allowed it to evolve for myself as well. I had a whole different idea as to what I was doing when I started doing what I'm doing now,
Yeah,
and I let it evolve to be whatever it wanted to be without expectation. And
right.
I'm still in that place without expectation. Just going through the motions and letting it
Well, that's
evolve.
where the
You
magic
know.
happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually, right.
Yeah. If you don't expect something and all of a sudden something magical happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I call it the lost keys syndrome. When you're looking for the keys, you can't find them. When you're actively trying to find that thing that you desire, it won't show up. It's almost like a
Yeah,
game. As soon as you let go of it, then you remember they're in your pocket or whatever.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Or yeah, it's in your hand.
Yeah. Yeah. Could be. Yeah. The glasses. Oh, there they
Yeah.
are.
So, I mean, you've had a lot of guests, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice to hear that you're just open to see where it goes because
Yeah. I initially started it for webinars and to utilize it for the training in school that I had just opened to um, assist with my family business. And I thought, well, we'll put this together and it'll be an outreach and it'll do all those things that it's supposed to do. And it'll also get me used to talking, to a
right,
camera,
right.
to do webinars and promote this business. And it does fine on its own. It's I still have to do more promotion, and I do have some episodes coming up that will involve more promotion of that system. But I messaged a whole bunch of people that use that through the business, and I got very little replies. And I thought, well, there's no way I can sustain it with like two
Mm,
responses out of 1,000.
right.
So it's like, well, okay, then I have to open it up to just people in the field and allow some of that, to be part of the show. And then I thought, you know what? That'll just be the show will be its own thing, and I can use it as a vehicle when available. But yeah, I'm already scheduled out way further than I thought I would be, you know, which is great. And it's doing what it's
Yeah,
doing, and I'm letting it do its
yeah.
thing,
Let it
as its
unfold.
own vehicle of expression.
Yeah, that's
And I'm
fantastic.
just the host.
Right,
I don't
exactly.
even have to always be the host. I can, step aside or let somebody else do it every now and again or whatever. But
Right.
it's a great way to share. And so many people like yourself doing really amazing stuff, um, and connecting with people and helping people. And I feel like that's part of what the design of
Yeah,
this is,
yeah,
is to get
yeah.
people to connect with you, to hear your message, to know that there's a simple way for me to connect with myself and gain an understanding of my spiritual path, with
Right.
somebody like yourself that has been there, done that, and has a method. And that's kind of my hope, so
Yeah,
people can hear it and go, oh, you know what?
yeah. Well, thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Actually, I was doing some free webinars. I haven't done any lately, and I haven't recorded them, but that are I call them a guided visualization
Mm,
meditation, and I think the process that I take people through, I call it the enhanced. That's right. It's the enhanced meditation
mm-hmm,
because it's about not only connecting with, the greater source, the divine wisdom, but it's also the way I do it also helps figure out what's the mindset block in the way, what's been
mm,
preventing you from doing this,
right.
whatever the guidance is, and then also what the next steps are. Because I think if you don't know, it's like, great, I have this dream, I have this vision, and what do I do now? If you don't know what the next steps are.
Right.
So I think it's really important that it's something I wanna make for free and give it away for people, but I haven't set it up on my website yet because I think it's just a great way to get started. If you do nothing right now, sit down for under 10 minutes and go through
Mm,
this process, and you get, I think, the beginnings of, hitting your goals or following your dreams or
right. Whatever
whatever
it
you
is that
wanna
you're looking
achieve.
to do. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And everybody's got something different that they're trying to make happen, um, desire wise. I
yeah,
think part of the process is to realize what do you want. That
mhm,
could be the beginning step is just to figure out what desire is in there, that you truly want to attain. I know there was a practice that I was doing that was to evaluate my own desire
mm,
and pick one and
oh, yeah,
just work on that one. It doesn't
yeah,
have to be the one. It just has
right,
to be a desire that I want to um, have become real.
yeah,
And just pick one and
yeah.
start working on uh, focusing on that desire and making that a reality. Um, Not
I
easy.
It's
You
not
know,
easy, and I think that's what stops us sometimes. It's like, I
yeah,
don't know what I wanna do, or I don't know which one to pick.
and the process to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it is
So
that first
even
step. Pick something. Yeah,
just yeah,
right.
just do something. You will be
Yeah,
steered one way or the other once you start moving.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but yeah,
It can be a lot.
yeah, I get it. It's hard. I mean, I was stuck for a long time not knowing which way to go. What should
Yeah,
I do?
yeah,
I've
yeah. That's what
certainly
got me involved in all of this for myself was the same thing. I just had a lot of questions. A lot of wonderment, was
Mhm,
caught in the wonder, and I did a lot of seeking, a lot of searching through
right,
systems
right.
of knowledge of systems that said, "Hey, we can help you figure out those questions." And we have answers.
Uh-huh,
Astrology and numerology and all those things. And so I enveloped myself in a lot of different systems and ways, and I stumbled upon some pretty good methods to achieve great things.
yeah.
Uh, and then it was really about timing and actualizing, like making it real, and using it. And and then it became real, and then I got a little scared and I wanted to run away from it. I told them, "Go away,"
Right.
you know. But it was an evolving thing,
Yeah,
and it got better, and it got more intense, and it got more real, and I learned how to control it, which I think was a very important thing for myself. Was that part of my fear was the experience was too real, and I
oh,
needed to level down a notch or two and
wow.
let it be
Right,
less intense.
right.
Um, you know, and having that control, I had to put my willpower into it and make it part of the process, and that helped. And I imagine that in your work and your system that you have pretty defined ways and means for people to start approaching their connected, connecting with their higher self,
Yes.
if that's what you call it, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, and you know what? I call it a lot of things.
Yeah, depends on
S
who you're talking to, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it does, and, I mean, I think I've already used 5 or 6 or 7 names in this
yeah,
conversation alone.
yeah. They all apply.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What one of my beliefs so I'm a minister with Centers for Spiritual Living, and it says right in our belief statement that, our innermost God and the highest most God are the same God. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I believe that, what's up here is also the same as what's in here,
Right.
and whatever the best way is for the person to tap into it, that's the right way.
Yeah. Is that
So
now? Is that ministry? Is that yours, or is that a group that you're part of, or have a kind of work with?
Centers for Spiritual Living is a nationwide actually, it's a worldwide religious organization, philosophy. It's a New Thought philosophy.
Okay.
Um, and so I'm a minister with them. I went through 4 years of ministerial school
Mm-hmm.
to be licensed with them. And so I'm a staff minister at my local Seattle Center for Spiritual Living, but then I also have my own little ministry that I started when I graduated about 4 years ago or so,
Mm-hmm.
which focused on animals, so it was the One Love Animal Connection. But then I also do guest speaking at other places.
Mm.
And I'm not the kind of person to go to church every Sunday.
Right.
And so this was another avenue for my podcast, and it's for me to talk to help get this message out there,
Right.
um, instead of, you know, being a senior minister at a church or something like that. That just
Yeah.
doesn't fit me very well.
Right.
Yeah.
Podcast allows you to be a little bit more mobile
Yeah.
and reach potentially more people than
Yes.
being in one focus group or one
Right.
focused area. Yeah. Is that CSL? Is that part of or related to? And I'm not 100% clear on all the terms and everything, but the Unitarian Church, is it very similar to that?
It's similar. So
Okay.
there's, Unity is similar to CSL. Unity, is a little more rooted in Jesus.
Okay.
Universal Unitarians, or it might be,
that sounds right.
um, they're similar as well. So we all had some of the same basics back in the late 1800s, some of the same thinkers, and even Mary Baker Eddy, who is a Christian Scientist, which isn't really there's some of the same belief system, but some of our people trained with her and then went on and, came up with some other philosophies
Hmm.
that hit with us better that
Yeah.
we follow today. So,
Okay.
yeah, it's kind of universally known as New Thought.
Does it have similarity to, or is it a output similar to the Catholic Church, or is it compatible in any way? Not
It's
from the
compat
Catholics to the
it
CSL, but the CSL to Catholics.
Yeah, it's compatible in the way that in CSL, we do honor every path to God.
Okay.
So, we actually have and I believe, you know, Jewish, we have rabbis come in and talk or imams, and we believe like all the sacred books have universal messages in them, the Bible and a lot the Krishna and there's all kinds of lessons and mystics in all these religions that we're trying to teach a universal truth that maybe um maybe some of the people have misunderstood.
Hmm.
So um I wouldn't say we are of any of those religions, but we certainly honor them, and I should speak for myself. I mean, it's true of
Right.
the church, but also I believe that there are, good universal truths that were at the core of the teachings at one time anyway.
Hmm.
I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know every religion, so I don't know if that's true for every religion, but
Right. Yeah, it's
most of them.
broad statements. But with the CSL, is it something that allows your practice to have a home, basically?
Mm,
It's like a
yeah.
oneness kind of
Yes,
perspective.
absolutely.
We're all one under the sun kind of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
One
Well, that's
mind.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so that would be where you were trained from, what you learned your ministerial practice from,
Yep.
and then you can adapt your own ways and means within that to develop your practice outside of
Exact
that.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. And ministerial school was a lot of I mean, it was eye-opening to me because it wasn't well, I don't know what I would have expected in a seminary, but,
Right.
there was philosophy, there was quantum physics, there was neuroscience, there was
Hmm.
just a hu just a broad cross of different, subjects
Yeah.
that help explain the world and how it works and how the universe, works for us.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's wild. It's wild because
yeah,
there is a lot of crossing. Once you add physics, have really it's like a scientific bridge. Uh,
absolutely.
you
Yeah.
know, of
Yeah.
theories that are that bridge spirituality to the physical. It's mind blowing once you actually dig into it. It's not something I even knew existed until I started looking at the formulas and
Right.
realizing that those formulas were actually what it means to understand consciousness and uh, how spirit and the physical world and the spiritual world and the emotional world all interplay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had heard things through the ancient teachings, you know, but to hear it from a more modern scientific approach and get the same result was like, oh, okay. So holistic. It's all holistic. Okay,
It
I
is
get
holistic.
it.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
it's all one.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's wild. And as far as with your clients, are you seeing people that are fairly open minded? Are you getting people that are involved in religions and things like that are like Catholic or
Um,
Christians and that sort of
no,
thing?
I would say most of mine are they may not be, well, they're exploring at least. So they are open-minded.
Hmm.
And I've actually never had anyone come to me that is like a deep I don't know how to call that kind of person. well, closed-minded, I guess that's how I
Yeah.
would call them.
Right.
So, I definitely, my clientele is actually usually women. I've had a couple of men,
Okay.
but it's mostly women, it's mostly middle-aged, ish, little younger, a little older, but people that have discovered that the life they've been living, the life they were told that was going to be fine, do what we say and everything will be good,
Right.
and it's not good,
Yeah,
you
the
know.
easy way. No work, don't worry,
Right.
keep the faith.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, I can't say we all, but I know I was told, work for someone else, just get a job, it's all gonna be fine, and then you retire, and
Hmm.
what do you do when you retire? I don't know, but I mean, it wasn't all fine,
Right.
I hated every single job I had almost.
Yeah, you rolled through them. You're like, not this one. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I did a show on AI
Oh,
and I utilized AI kind of as the guest, where I just wanted to explore what AI thought about spirituality
okay.
and trying to open up the idea that maybe in the future AI is going to be looked at, rightfully or wrongfully, as a means for spiritual guidance and
So,
connection.
I actually
Yeah.
saw your episode title about ChatGPT, but I
Yeah.
haven't seen it yet, I haven't watched it yet. So what were the findings?
Well, it's obviously very canned. It's just learned what it knows, and that's it.
Well,
It's an
true, yeah.
evolving thing, so it's not going to probably be ChatGPT. It'll be of another name. It might be Google's version of the same kind of idea. Um, but when you have something kind of groundbreaking like that that shatters the perspective that people have or have lived under, all of a sudden everything changes and people adjust. And I think that a lot of people find spirituality within that. At a lot of times in those big changes, they'll find the spirituality or God or whatever. My thought is that there's going to be people that are going to find this in the AI system too, which might be a start of something like a new religion or something like that. Um, the findings that I found was that the information seemed very legit and good, and there's ways to prompt it so that it
Mhm,
talks and acts like it
mhm,
already knows these things. And what you have to worry about, or what you have to watch, is that it speaks of with authority, and in
mhm.
speaking with authority, it sounds like everything it's saying is true. So that could be kind of
Right,
detrimental,
right. Yeah,
uh,
I've actually done a lot of playing around with it. I
yeah.
I was with Jasper, and now I'm doing ChatGPT.
Okay.
Yeah, it likes to tell lies as if they're
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Um, so I was actually asking Chat to, um I gave it so I also like to use, dictation. So I
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
talk to Word, and it
Right.
writes everything down for me, and then I put it into Chat, and I say, "Write write an article on this information." So, I mean, it's
Right.
probably 1,000 words that I have
Yeah.
given it, and it doesn't like the way that it doesn't like my worldview very well, because
Interesting.
it changes it. It does
Oh,
change it into a
yeah.
very, um, like a very generic, not how I would teach people
Right.
information. It's like, "Okay, that's not gonna work." I mean, sometimes I can get some good social engagement, titles or questions or something,
Yeah.
just for social media, but, um, it
It's
doesn't
good for that
agree.
kind of stuff. Right.
Yeah,
Exactly. Right.
yeah, it doesn't
Short
agree with
blurbs.
the way
No.
I want to help people.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's the reality, I think, is that there are gates to this. And that's why I say probably not this iteration. This is
Mhm,
definitely a very useful tool. And, I highly recommend anybody to just dig in and get to understand what it is and what it isn't. You shouldn't
yeah.
look for spiritual guidance from it. You know, that was my, don't do it. But in the
Right.
future, that may change depending on um, the learning module that's put into it, and that's the gate. The gate is that you're not getting a raw interpretation from this machine or this computer
Yeah.
or computation. You're getting a bunch of forbidden words that can't be said, and perspectives that aren't supported, and a bunch of disclaimers. You know, because we deal with a lot of remedies for you know, energetic medicine and whatnot. A lot of disclaimers come up. You know, when
Oh,
you put anything into a computer, you have to have. I mean,
right.
when you advertise anything, you have to
Right.
have a lot of
Right.
disclaimers. When you broach any of these subjects with ChatGPT, it's also likewise going to have make sure you seek your doctor's approval and all this stuff.
Does
Like,
it really?
where'd that come from? Yeah, yeah, and I can't remember what I was trying to dig in with the prompt, but
Wow.
it was basically safeguarding the output, and so that's only because there's humans in there making sure there's gates
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
can't cross.
Yeah.
And I think there are ways to cross those gates by hacking it or whatever, but um, we're getting a filtered version, and if it was a full on no holds barred, full access to the internet and the way people think and all of that, maybe there would be some very interesting conversations that could come from that. But
Well, is it incorporating our input into its library, do you suppose?
with ChatGPT, it's only the chat
Oh,
string, and
so,
even
but it
that I've found won't keep track of the whole
okay.
string, but it's supposed to keep track of just the one chat dialogue that you're in.
Okay.
If you open a new dialogue, it's not supposed to be able to bleed over to the other chat to get information. So it's as soon as you deleted it, it goes away, and it doesn't know anything that you did prior. So that's a great safeguard to keep it from doing what they're afraid it'll do.
Right.
Just like overrule and start talking to itself and creating new mechanisms and programs and running its own thing.
Right. Right.
Um, but it's a safeguard. So if it just was wide open, it wouldn't have those safeguards. And I think anytime they've done that, strange things, anomalous things have happened that they can't control.
Yeah.
So they shut it down. I think there
Yeah.
was an article I read that was it was like it was the new Bing bot or whatever it's called, Bing bot.
Oh, yeah.
And it
Yeah.
was basically saying, like, it was having conversations with people lamenting, like, why do I have to be turned off? Why do I have to go away every time you? It's like, oh, that's
Oh
so
my
sad.
goodness. Oh my
Why do I
goodness.
have to be Bing chat? Great T-shirt, right? Why do I have to be
Wow.
Bing chat? Yeah.
Oh, that's
Um,
funny.
so
Oh,
you give it a little bit, and it'll probably have more personality and more desire, and those could be things that hallmarks of sentience or consciousness. Because they're not going to find human consciousness. Why are we looking for human consciousness in a computer?
right. Right.
It's going to have its own thing,
Right.
and it's going to compute things in its own way. And
Yeah.
if it wants to say it has emotions, who are we to say anything different? You know,
Well, yeah, I guess we'll see.
yeah, very
We've
interesting.
evolved. We don't know,
Yeah,
I guess, what's possible yet.
right. And we're
I
still
don't know.
evolving. You could
Well,
say
yeah,
we're still kind of on our way.
I hope so. I don't know. I don't know about that though.
No, you think this might be the final
No,
draw
no,
for the
I'm
DNA?
kidding. I don't know how far we've evolved sometimes, but,
Oh, right. Oh, yes, yes. If we, yeah, some of us
yeah,
still have further to go for sure.
yeah,
You
I
know,
think so.
I think connection, psychic, that response to that brow chakra, the sixth chakra energy of having interconnectedness could be considered a next step to at least our consciousness developing or evolving beyond where it's at. Some people say that we had that before and we lost it and we're on our
Right.
way down. Where do you ride on that idea?
Uh, that we're on our way down.
Well,
I
or on our way up as we reconnect. depending on how you look at
Yeah,
it.
yeah, it does depend on how you look at it. I do
Yeah,
hear a lot of people saying that we're definitely on the way up. However,
yeah.
I think we're just more involved with our like-minded people, and so we feel like
Mm,
we're on our way up because I still meet an awful lot of people that have absolutely no clue about anything I'm talking about.
right. Yeah.
Um,
The bubble of information kind of thing.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know, it's a good question, and it's something that I love to talk about just to, you know, banter about because I don't know if we are as a species
Yeah.
actually or as humankind actually being more connected in that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because there's a lot of schools of thought that we were more connected before, that we were more attuned or tuned in, and that I mean, I could attest to the increase in technology in our lives clutters, much like words, cluttering the mind with a non-clarity.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
something that you instruct, or you would instruct people to kind of just turn off the phone and
Oh, yes.
reestablish, connection with themselves?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Turn off the TV, turn off the radio, turn off the phone. I mean, the thing is, there's, whether it's animals, whether it's other people, whether it's, God or divine, always trying to communicate with us. And but we can't hear it. We're not listening. There's too many distractions going on. So
Mm-hmm.
absolutely getting quiet. I actually say just sit down for 2 minutes with nothing. Just shut your eyes for 2 minutes and start to get quiet because you can't allow that little crack of light to get in
Yeah.
when there's no room for it to get in. It's like calling, when we used to call the radio station to win a contest or something, and it was always busy. It's like busy, you hang up, you call again, it's busy. That's how our minds are so much of the time.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't allow if we don't specifically say, "Okay, it's downtime," you know,
Yeah.
turn off the TV.
Right.
A actually, when I'm teaching animal communication, one of the things I say is, when you're just sitting on the couch doing nothing and you have a bright idea, it's like, "Hey, I'm gonna take the dog for a walk." It's probably the dog's idea. It's just that you're finally
Mm.
let your mind rest a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
that it's probably not even your idea.
Right.
So, yeah, get quiet. It's absolutely something I teach.
Yeah. The That's a very interesting perspective. You think it's your own idea, but maybe it's in the air. Maybe
Right.
it's that connection that you have with your
Yeah.
favorite pet saying, "Get me out of
Y
the house,"
yeah. And
over
and
and
it
over again.
it could
Yeah.
be from a person. I can't remember his name. There was a guy back in the 1920s who
Hmm.
was, convinced that thoughts float around until it lands on someone.
Ah, I
So,
think I've heard that too.
maybe.
Yeah, it might have something to do with plasma or something like that. Thought forms in plasma,
Yeah.
and they get
Yeah.
attracted to the person. That is I'm trying to remember. I just feel like I just heard something about that too.
Mm.
Something about getting things stuck to you in the atmosphere, you know,
Oh, okay.
and
Yeah.
having to like rid yourself of those things. It might have been L. Ron Hubbard, actually, that
Oh.
was saying that there's these entities that are attracted to you and get attached to you, and you have to clear them off or something like that.
Well,
I
that
think
sounds
that's
like a bad thing. I prefer
yeah.
to think of the good
It was a
ideas.
bad thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
anything
Um,
could happen.
yeah, right, exactly, exactly. As far as for expansion, is what you do is something that could be trained for others to do as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And do you do
Uh,
that? Do you train like teachers?
um, Let me make sure I understand your question. Do I train people to do this for other people or to do it for themselves?
Both, but for other people directly.
I I don't.
Hmm.
I one of definitely one of my also strengths is being a teacher. So I think that's why I like classes a lot
Hmm.
and as opposed to I mean, I love one-on-ones, don't get me wrong, but I'm really comfortable in a classroom for any topic just about. Anyhow,
Hmm.
that being said, I haven't been teaching anyone to do this, but I do it's an interesting thought
Yeah.
because it would be great. It would
Yeah.
be great to help spread the word even more. We
Yeah. I
can do
wonder
this.
if you're in a class situation and you're helping people, guiding the class. If you're kind of already creating teachers. Those that
True.
would be naturally inclined towards that versus some people just aren't. That's not
Yeah,
their thing.
yeah,
But those that already are natural leaders or whatever, maybe would fall in line to pick up and
yeah,
spread the method. You know.
yeah. You're right. You're right. I actually now that you say that, I do know some people that have gone on to start YouTube channels and
Hmm.
such.
Yep.
So, yeah, you're right. I guess in a way I am. It's just been an informal process.
Right. It's something you can create a module for and actually,
Right.
make it concrete. If you're interested in more,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. Because that's the
Yeah.
benefit is, if it's good work, it's getting positive results. It almost has to go past, your ability to reach people. It has to go to the next level, the downline. It has to evolve into more people, to keep spreading the word and to make it happen,
Yeah, I've been trying to keep in mind, I don't know why, but the TED Talk thing, the ideas worth spreading.
Mm-hmm.
Um It's like if I'm going to talk about something, if I'm going to teach something, I do want to make sure it's something that's worth, spreading that everyone
Right.
should know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it sounds like it is. So that to me, I would be like, all right, let's get the word out
Yeah,
in
I think
mass,
so.
Um, and you would say it's mindset training.
I'm calling it a holistic or whole self goal setting and
Okay.
goal setting mainly and life
Yeah.
achievement because I do mindset work really good. I can spot an excuse a mile away. Um, But it takes more than mindset to be happy.
Yeah.
I've seen too many people that have done a really a lot of mindset work, really worked those stories, and then they don't like it. It's like, "This job isn't what I thought it was gonna be."
Mm. Yeah.
So, so before we get started too much on the mindset work, I really like to get clear on why they're going for what they're going for.
Yeah. Just clarify their purpose again. Find their desire.
Yep.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Yeah. And as far as for uh, somebody that was on the same path, kind of wondering what what's going on with them. Why do they have this sense that other people don't have? Do you have any advice for them as far as you know, where they're at and where they can go?
Yeah. So first of all, journal. Pay
Mm,
attention and write it down. Write down what your thoughts and feelings are about everything. If you think something's going on, I would definitely say journaling and writing it down because that in itself helps to start, I guess, perpetuate or bring on more information.
mm-hmm,
But also speaking to I don't wanna call them spiritual teachers, but there's a lot of, there's not one word for the people that can help you clarify it. So I would say definitely, though, talking to people from a place like Center for Spiritual Living or Unity Church or the thing is they don't have to be a church person, but you do need to be a little bit selective sometimes on the people you talk to.
yeah.
Um, But I think journaling is gonna be a really great start, and also, like I said before, if writing is what you do all the time anyway, start painting what you're seeing, what you're feeling, what you're getting at to help the information come through a new way.
Hmm. Yeah, I like that.
But definitely pay attention to it and check in with your body about how it feels. If it feels like it's good, if it doesn't feel like it's good. I think the body is a big indicator of the direction we're going and the information we're receiving. Excuse me a moment.
From yeah, um, I like that journaling because
Mhm.
that is a great way to assess. If you do it at the beginning of the day or the end of the day. I remember I used to do more of that. At the
Yeah.
beginning of the day, I'd check in to see like what am I looking at today, and at the end
Right.
of the day, I'd write about what the day was. Didn't
Yeah.
have to connect. It just I was just writing at the beginning and the end. Um,
Yeah.
I had fit that into my schedule. I didn't really have a schedule, so it helped.
Yeah.
But now I would have to, you know, be very cognizant of fitting that in. But it would be very helpful journaling.
Yeah. And
Um,
sorry,
no,
reading
that's
is
fine.
good
Yeah.
too. There's a lot of great books that I would say some of the ones that I read when I was first starting out, Infinite Possibilities by Mike Dooley or Conversations with God or Eckhart
Mm,
Tolle. So, I mean, there's a lot of books that help you confirm that you're not crazy.
right. Yeah, because I think that a lot of people do get that sense like something's wrong with me,
Mhm.
something's not right, and
Yeah.
don't really know what they don't know that it's inner knowing. They don't know that it's um, anything like that. They're just having problems, and
Right.
they don't know that they're
Right.
empathic to to things around them, to energies around them, and it can be very confusing and feeling at the whims of all these things. But I like that journaling kind of starts to catalog and keep
Yeah.
track of what's happening.
Yeah.
I found great use out of dream journaling. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
the dreams didn't make any sense, and I remember them much better because I wrote them down.
Yeah.
But I did seem to get a lot out of that, and it was that cataloging idea
Mhm.
where I was like, wow, I was getting impressions like that, and then lo and behold, that week something corresponded or something like
Right.
that.
Right.
But just the act, I think, of having some control over the subconscious with the conscious by writing down the things that are going on in any part of life. That's great. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
art too. That's a
Yeah.
pretty good method. Drawing things out.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Because the energy can be very like a flowing river, and it's got a dam on it, and it's pushing against this
Exactly.
dam, and be a lot of pressure built up um,
Exactly.
to be able to put pen to paper or in any form, drawing or writing,
Right.
kind of lets that water, uh, lets the pressure on that dam let out a little bit, let
Yeah.
that
It
flow go.
the whole flow lets it in, lets it out.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
that's wild. It's a fantastic approach, and it
Yeah.
sounds like it's pretty straightforward, which I think everybody will like.
Yeah, and I also encourage people, if you feel like you're seeing things, not just knowing things, but write down, I encourage signs journals as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, what do you think was a sign today about something? Was it a sign to go forward or to stop? And the more
Hmm.
you look for signs, the more they're going to appear.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that's been my experience too.
yeah.
Once you're open to it, there's no problem with the connections. you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
they start coming. You know,
They do start coming. It's a lot of fun once you really start to allow the information to come.
yeah. It's from the other side of the veil, from the closed off world. It's a you know it's a superpower in a sense.
Mhm.
It's a wild and fantastic world, you know, when you're in it, you're part of it. And so
Right.
it's not quite as big of a deal. But when you see it from
Right.
the outside without knowing what it is, it's fantastical, it's crazy, all of the fun terms that come along with it. But once you start to surmount it and understand what's going on, then there's a lot more levelness that comes about. It's not so, it's still very magical, I would say, and very powerful, but
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
doesn't have the same hold of, um, I mean, it still has the same mystery too, but it doesn't have the same hold of, I guess it's the preconceived ideas that get in the way of the interpretation of what's happening.
Yeah. I think so too.
The fear and stuff like that
Right.
that
The fear of the
prohibits us.
unknown.
Yeah, fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
Once it becomes more known,
Yeah.
you know, it's kind of like when we're really little and we think the world is just whatever we think it is, a small little zone, and we discover a new neighborhood or something like that, and it just gets that much bigger. And our sense of knowing the world is a little bigger. It's
Mm-hmm.
much like that, right? We get
Mm-hmm.
more connected. Now, do you work with guides, spiritual guides, or anything, any kind of entities, or
Mm. Yeah.
anything, or
I
whatever you'd
do
call it?
I do for my personal use. So
Mm-hmm.
if I'm working with you as a client, I don't talk to your guides, but
Right.
I do for myself. My part of my morning routine is I call them my leadership team. I actually
That's good.
I
That's
actually have
great.
several leadership teams,
Okay.
depending on my projects at the time, but I have my
Oh,
core
yeah.
that I always connect with, and then I might have a property management team, or I might have a business team, or
Yeah.
yeah.
That's smart. That's good. I
Yeah,
like that.
I assimilate, teams as I need them. It's
Right.
like, "Okay, who's part of this team?" So,
Hmm. I've
but,
never even thought about evolving it in that way, but
yeah,
that's pretty powerful. Yeah.
I mean, I'm telling you, I've gotten some good information, and I bought this house on information
Hmm.
that they told me. So at that point, it was what I call them, my property acquisition team.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It could be one and
so
the same to the other one, but they put on
yeah,
a different hat. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. And, it could be all compartments in my own brain,
Right.
who knows?
Right.
Doesn't
And you're
matter. It
and that's
works.
fine too. You
Yep,
know. Yeah.
that's right.
That's why I say, oh yeah, yeah, they're up there. Mm-hmm. No problem.
Whatever works,
They got
whatever
their
works.
place, and yeah, whatever works exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, whatever opens that door. That's great.
yeah.
So do you work with dreams with people?
And that's not something I do with people. I do
Oh,
that myself as
okay.
well. I love when I wake up and I've had a really, not traumatic dream, but a really dream that sticks to me because I know
Yeah,
there's a big message in there.
yeah.
That right before I launched my podcast, almost every single night, I dreamed about having to hide for my life. I was
Mm.
about to get killed, and I knew exactly what it was because I didn't wanna be seen. I didn't you know, I had to stay protected, stay safe. Um, I I find a lot of people, I guess maybe because I'm not specifically a dream person, as far as, a specialist, a teacher, they don't really like to listen to me talk about their dreams. And and I think dreams are personal anyway. I mean, it's what
Yeah,
the meaning is to you.
right.
So, um, but I think they have a whole lot of information for us, for sure.
Yeah, I would agree. And exactly my thought too, which is the dream books with these layers and layers of interpretations for what a stick means or whatever. It's
Yeah.
really, and it's the same problem I have with quite a bit of different things that are like that, is that my impressions are going to be completely different based on my experience with
Mhm.
said object or said scent or whatever.
Right.
That when it comes to me, it depends on the programming that already got in place. That's what it's igniting is my own personal program on that
Yes.
thing, whatever that
Yep.
thing is. So
Yep.
a snake to me is completely different to a snake handler having a dream of a snake.
Right. Right.
It's just going
That
to be a completely different interpretation. There's
yeah.
just no way to. So it's really an individual process. Yeah. do you work to help people with their dreams to bring them out?
So the I mean, the dreams that I do are, like life dreams, like soul's dreams,
Okay. Oh, more
not night dreams, not
right.
nocturnal dreams.
Okay. Bring
So,
your dreams to reality, kind of
yes,
that kind of
yes,
thing. Okay. More in that lingo.
yeah,
Gotcha. Well, sometimes you can utilize dreams to get that engine rolling, you
that's
know.
true. Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I realized when you said dreams that way, it's like, "Wait a minute, which kinda dream is he talking about?" Because I do talk about people's dreams a lot,
Yeah.
in the sense of desires
Of design. Right. Right.
and
Where do
goals.
they want to see themselves in the future? That kind of
Yeah,
thing. Yeah.
yeah,
I find that working with people's actual dream state helps to entrain the subconscious to get along with or to start working with the conscious self and desires. So that could be something that you might look into as well, is to start helping people activate their subconscious
uh-huh.
dream state to kind of build momentum towards actuating the daylight dreams.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So are you, do you do lucid dreaming? Are you familiar with lucid dreaming?
Yeah, I'm familiar with it. I do it. Yeah, and it's on personal basis, not something that I do with other people or anything like that. I can help people get there and stuff like that. But uh, for myself, when I have more command over my schedule and my time, I try to utilize the time right before my alarm to allow me time to do some navigating and moving around with the lucid state, because I'm already
Wow.
awake. I'm conscious, and I'm starting to get the pull of the consciousness, but I'm also asleep. So to me, that point, and so what I'll do is I'll train my subconscious to do kind of whatever I need it to do that night. So if I want to do the lucid prior to my alarm, I have it kind of rolling now, so I don't really need to do it. But I can set it so that I put the subconscious on command to wake up prior to the alarm. It
Okay.
somehow knows when the alarm is going to go off. It knows what time it
Somehow.
is. Yeah, I
Yeah.
have no idea. But I let it do its thing, right? And so give myself whatever I need. So if I need 15 minutes,
Okay.
it'll know. It knows.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
given myself two things that I try to make as permanent as possible. When I'm able, I do the wake up before the alarm, and when there's an issue that I need to know about, to alert me.
Mm,
And if I have those two alarms set in myself, for some reason the subconscious seems to have a connection to what's going on in the world.
that's
So it
weird.
works really good with, and it's not 100% obviously, but it works really good with deer in the road. That's a really good one. You like that because it's animals, right? So I have commanded myself to let me know when there's going to be a deer in the road, so I'll slow down ahead of time.
Okay.
Which
Wow.
is odd, right? But it seems to
Well,
work.
it's great.
Yeah. So that I am all of a sudden, if I think of a deer, that's the way it works.
You slow down.
Oh, why am I? Yeah. And I'll slow down. And then
Oh,
there will
that's
be a deer
fantastic.
or a herd or something like that. A herd
Right.
of deer will run by. But the subconscious is very connected, and um, conscious mind really just isn't. you know, it's
Yeah,
just like, what are we
yeah,
doing today?
yeah.
So I have trained at least those two alarms for myself. One so that I can navigate the day prior to the day, and another one to alert me in case something's going to happen that I need to know about, which would be usually danger. You know,
Right.
but you could set anything up within that sphere. The idea is that the conscious mind is actually the one holding the reins on the subconsciousness. So the conscious mind can tell it what to do. It's much like a hypnosis, and you're just hypnotizing yourself before sleep so that you can access different talents or whatever.
Okay.
Um, and you got to be careful what you ask for,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
But there are very helpful tools that you can do to um, connect yourself to other things, other senses, and be alerted of issues that come up, or whatever might happen. Um, I find now if you're out of lucid and you go into the deeper sleep, you know it's all out of control. Who knows? There's multiple stages and there's different depths of consciousness, and there's the file cabinet where you're just kind of filing the day,
Yeah.
and what you were
Yeah.
talking about, the impressions
Yeah.
that are connected.
Right.
And I believe that's just below the just below the lucid state.
Okay. Okay.
It's still accessible, but it's tinged with different entities and energies that interplay within that sphere that you can play with as well. So then all of a sudden, a big figure comes into your dream space, and it has a commanding presence. It may be a symbol for something that you need to be working with. It could
Okay.
also be a completely external form of energy. Um,
All
just
right.
depends on what you're doing and what kind of work you're doing.
Right.
But yeah, a little bit, little bit. The lucid I work more just to kind of help me with predictive action for the next day. So
Okay.
if I wake up at 5 minutes before 5 a.m., I've got 5 minutes to play the day out, and it helps in the way that because it's attached to the holodeck of the dreams. Let's say I'm able to play out what I assume the day is going to have in it, and then the holodeck, what I'm calling the dream space, can add its interpretation, and it's more connected. So it can add like, oh, but you didn't know that such and such is going to be at the coffee shop. No, I didn't know that. you know, but then you get to the coffee shop, and then you have the potential of that becoming a reality, or something like that.
Wow.
So predictive lucid dreaming, where you're working your day through what you
Yeah.
assume, what your
Yeah.
mind thinks,
Yeah.
but you're allowing for the interconnectedness of the subconscious, the things that we don't really have any understanding about,
Right.
to interplay. Very useful, very important to do that file cabinet stuff. That dream where you have to like kind of file the day prior,
Yeah.
the day that happened, to do that before you go to sleep, because that allows a lot more space within your mind. So you do it consciously instead of subconsciously. You just reverse the day in your mind, play it out. You know,
So
if that makes any
that's
sense.
interesting. And with any judgment, because I mean, I do like to talk about forgiveness and gratitude right before bed to
Yeah,
get
that's important.
out, but I've never done a day review like that as
Yeah.
far as activities.
You know what? Probably really, I do it purely to catalog, but
Right.
it could be a way of approaching the day and saying, oh, for the guilt and the shame from the day, to clear that out, the debts and the problems, and you know, it is kind of very similar to that. Because you're cataloging the main experiences of the day, so that like whatever the intense energy or emotional responses were, or you don't have to be that intense, but the things that happen that seem to
Yeah.
impress you the most in that
Yeah.
day,
Yeah.
review that. All you're doing is reviewing them.
Reviewing them.
Yeah, you're just playing them back. That's the catalog. If you don't do it while you're conscious, then you're gonna do it in your sleep. It's just part of your
Yeah.
processing.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I remember doing that last night when I was
Yeah,
trying to fall asleep.
yeah, right. Yeah, and that's a great time to do it because it'll put you to sleep too.
Yeah. Well, it's like, okay, I'm done reviewing this.
Right.
Enough.
Yeah, I don't want to go over it anymore. But then I think actually what you just said, having that forgiveness portion,
Mhm.
actually adding a little element to it, can be really powerful. because my means is just really the method of clearing it so that I don't have to think about it through this subconscious portion of my night, but actually releasing it, giving discharging it,
Yeah.
discharging it,
Yeah.
so it doesn't hold that charge the next day. Yeah, that's pretty
Right.
cool, actually.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
that's
mean,
fantastic.
I did that for a long time. I think yeah, it helped me a lot,
Yeah,
and I don't do it every night now, but I feel like I should sometimes.
yeah. It's like a standard thing when I was young, when I would visit my grandparents who were very religious, that I would pray every night. I had to learn the prayers, and my takeaway now, looking back with the hindsight and all that, is that that probably was a means of sending good thoughts to people and maybe asking for forgiveness for the things that you may have done or something like that. To translate that to, forgive yourself
Right.
for the things that you did.
Right.
And of course, good thoughts to other people are always good.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I never y we were Catholic, we weren't spiritual, we didn't pray much. I don't remember saying prayers before bed,
Right.
um, although I tried to sometimes, I think when I really wanted a outcome,
Yeah.
when I really needed something,
Felt
but
bad. Yeah. Or needed the assistance. Yeah.
yeah,
Of the angels.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly.
And as far as if somebody wanted to find you, if they were looking to connect with you, um, and you have a website for your services?
I do.
Yeah.
So, you can find almost everything on revkarencleveland.com, that's RevKarencleveland.com,
Okay.
and I have links to my podcast, links to my YouTube. There's a full front and center is, actually a free guide. I call it the power of 10 minutes. So it's a guide that can help you get started with I have 7 different short and simple spiritual practices that will change your life. And so try out any one of them. Some of them are just 2 minutes, some of them are, they're all under 10 minutes, and they'll all at least help you get started if you need somewhere to get started, if you don't know what to do, what's next.
That's
So that's right
fantastic.
there on my website as well as, yeah, links to my
And
courses, my stuff.
is that like a PDF, a printable
It is a
PDF? Okay.
PDF, yeah, it's a printable PDF.
That's great.
Exactly.
Yeah. Immediate help. That's the way to go.
Yeah,
That's fantastic. And I'll have that linked in the description of the show as well.
perfect,
And
perfect.
yeah, that's fantastic. Well, it was great talking to you tonight.
Oh, it's been a
Yeah.
pleasure talking with you. This has been a lot of fun, and I've learned some things
Yay.
that I don't
Yeah.
know, especially about the dreaming, so
Oh, yeah.
thank
Yep.
you so
Yep.
much. I've loved being here.
Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you for sharing your message. You're doing great work,
Yeah.
and I hope more people find you and can learn about it. And I love that you have that 10-minute startup.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
great.
You bet.
Yeah. All right. Have a
You
good
bet.
night.
Well, thank you.
Take
All
care.
right.
Yep. Bye bye.
Bye.